All right. Well, it is 9 a.m. and we are going to jump in and get started on time. Thanks for joining us. I see lots of people are continuing to join as we jump in right at the top of the hour. Today's a special day for us. As most of you know, we have continued to do a state of the industry almost weekly since the beginning of March, every single week, every single week, every single week. And more recently, what we've done is shifted and brought back our master series where we reach out to very specific people across our industry and ask them to join us to share some of their wins and some of their failures along the way, as most of us and all of us have. Today, we have a special guest. I'm gonna share a little bit about Gene Rivers, and I won't take more than a couple minutes because you're not here to listen to me. You're here to listen to Gene. But Gene and his team over their real estate lifetime have sold more homes than almost anybody. Sold over 5,400 homes, right? Have over 5,400 past clients. Gene, you have shown up on every list that there could possibly be. You're one of the original star power stars, right? Back in Howard Burton's days, and there's quite a few people actually on this call that know you through there. Have shown up on Inman's list and Real Trends list, Realtor Magazine, top 100 residential specialists, like year after year. You've done some incredible speaking within our organization as well, and are known for your book tours around MREA, which is actually the first time I met you. MREI, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, Flip, The One Thing. And today you're going to talk to us about something that you're probably known most for, which is lead gen. But before we do that, I'm just going to share, I started in this company, gosh, over a decade ago. And the first outside guest speaker that we ever had when I joined this company was Gene Rivers. And Gene, you may or may not remember this, but over a decade ago, I was super, super nervous because I was told as a brand new team leader, hey, you're going to go and pick up this speaker named Gene Rivers from the airport. And actually you can take him to dinner. And I'm not a super social guy, and you made me feel incredibly comfortable. One of the things I remember most is that you introduced me to Chianti that evening. So we had an awesome wine. But from that point forward, I recognized that our company was different, and our company was different because individuals like you are willing to show up and pour into others and teach us what you've learned so that each of us can become better. And I've shared privately, not publicly, but privately amongst our group that across our entire company, you are by far my favorite trainer. I've learned a lot from you, both personally and by showing up anytime you teach. And so it's
very
awesome.
kind of you.
Go ahead.
That's just very kind of you. I can't believe you said that. That's sweet. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. For me, it's very cool to now, a decade later, have you back and listen to you again and be able to have you share with a much bigger network. I think when you came last time, we were about 80 people, and now we're a group of over 1,000 agents that you get to share with and pour into. So that's my part. I just wanted to thank you for your time. It's incredibly valuable. We honor that. We know that. And I'll introduce Leslie here to get us started and up and running, and then let you run, Gene. But more than anything, just thank you so much for who you are, who you continue to show up as in this industry, and for showing up to our network and pouring into us today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Gene. Any day we get to spend a day with hearing Gene is a good day. And as you guys know, the Master Series is something special to our network, and our leaders have asked what was the one thing that we can do to continue to add value to every single one of our associates, and out of that, the Master Series was born. Now, as you know, we do not succeed alone, and we have incredible power partners along the way who are invested in our growth and our business development, and we have our amazing power partner on the line today. So before we get started with Gene, I want to say a special thank you to our amazing power partners, Fidelity Home Warranty, and welcome Betty Carter, the Vice President of Sales, to welcome her team to the call.
Well, thanks, Leslie and Chris. We are grateful to be here today, and we're excited to hear Jean speak. So as Leslie mentioned, I'm the VP of Sales for Fidelity Home Warranty. I cover Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Colorado, Utah, and I am going to introduce our awesome team to you, and they each have a little quick bite to tell you guys. So first we have with us Lisa Justison. So Lisa, give them a wave.
Hello.
And Lisa covers the Southern Oregon territory. Andrea Crawford, who takes care of West Portland, Willamette Valley, and Central Oregon. And last but certainly not least, we've got Kevin Wyants, who covers East Portland, Southern Washington, Eugene, and the Willamette Valley. So we're going to start out today with Lisa, and then Kevin will wrap it up for us after Andrea says her piece. Go, Lisa.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having us come and speak here briefly with you guys. Real quick, we wanted to let you guys know some of the really cool things we have created for you and for our clients. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know about you guys, but I know I certainly have gotten frantic calls. I'm having them even as we speak, for air conditioners going out. And for those of you in the colder areas, maybe the heaters are going out. That's a real issue during these peak seasons. And so what Fidelity has done is created an answer for that. And what we've done is created, it's a pre-season HVAC tune-up. So we'll come out twice a year in the spring and in the fall, and to ensure that that system is well tuned so that you won't have those frantic calls from your clients. That's what we want. It's very affordable. It's only $25 a unit, and it can be a total lifesaver. So if you guys have any questions about that kind of our coverage or any of our coverage, obviously feel free to reach out to me. So that's what I wanted to talk about, is that preseason tune-up. And now I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Crawford.
Hi, you guys. I can't see all of you, but I surely wish I could. Hey, we have our new brochure. So this is what the new one looks like, just in case you haven't seen it, since we can't get out to be everywhere nowadays. I want to talk about Rekey. So we're super excited to add Rekey to our product for a $75 service fee. The locksmith will come out and rekey up to 6 keyholes. You'll get 4 copies of the key. And we are just glad to have that as one of our options now. So Jean, I hope you have an awesome chat. You guys are so lucky to hear him today. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kevin Vyance.
Well, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to touch on our sellers coverage. Fidelity Home Warranty has complimentary sellers coverage for your listings. So the minute you get a listing or you know it's going to go live, give one of us a call. Nothing needs to be filled out. All you got to say is turn it on, and we will apply our standard plan coverage to that listing while it's on the market and until it records. Also, whenever you are under contract and one of our warranties is affiliated with that, and we've sent an invoice over to the escrow company, no matter who initiated it, which side, the seller is automatically covered while it's on the market also. So if you have any other questions about that, it's free, it's complimentary, give us a call. And have a great day, everyone.
All right, thank you so much to our power partners. We appreciate everything you do. We are going to turn this event over to the man, Gene himself. The floor is yours.
Okay, as long as all this technology works out, we're good to go, right? Well, hello, everybody. I can't see all of you. I know some of you, and some of you I'm sure I don't know, but it's my pleasure to be here. A lot of nice things said today, and I can't be more grateful for that comment, that introduction by Chris. But we're here to talk about one subject more than anything else, and that is the base of all success in the industry. It is lead generation. I've been in the business 32 years almost now, and I started out doing lead gen. The original lead gen plan I was given by my original broker was, he said, there's your desk, open that drawer. I opened the drawer, and it was a phone book sitting in there. And he said, pick it up. And I picked it up, and he said, that's your business, start dialing. And to this day, that's not a bad recipe. Lead generation is something I've been doing ever since. Rebecca and I have been lead genning for 32 years. There are very few things we haven't tried because everyone is always in search of a better lead gen path. So a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today, I'm happy to discuss with you what I've seen, what I've heard, and what I think are the best practices. But we're going to move fast. There's two main issues about lead gen I want to talk about today. The first is the systematic approach to lead gen, about your systems, about your concept of making sure that the number one issue in great lead gen is always followed, and that is that it is ongoing and regular. It is systemic. It keeps happening over and over again. The database, what do you do with the database? We're going to talk about the touches and about improving your touches. The reality is the source has to fit inside that network of concepts, of systems. In other words, if you do an open house, it's about collecting names and a specific follow-up. If it's sphere cultivation, it's about the names and the data and a specific follow-up. So there's the structure, and then there's the target you're going after. And that's what we're going to talk about. When you do get enough leads, you end up focusing on listing leads. And I'm talking to probably the most sophisticated group of 1,000 people that I've ever spoken to. You're all very competent, you're all very capable, and you get all this. And yet, we routinely drift off the fundamentals. And when we drift off the fundamentals, two things happen. We make business harder than it needs to be, and we make business less profitable than it could be. So we want to always get grounded on the basics and stick to the basics. And we're going to talk about that issue along with targeted lead gen priorities. Let's remember about lead gen. Lead gen is not about making a sale. That's a different system altogether. Lead generation as a system is two paths. It's prospecting and marketing. You all know this, but when you do prospecting, it works so well, you don't have time to do it. Marketing often, particularly on larger teams, marketing is often kind of separate. It's out there motoring along under its own speed, separate from the agents, and yet at a high level, you need them both to be intertwined. If the marketing that's going out isn't worth talking about to your database, your sphere, your pipeline, an open house visitor, a web visitor, whoever you're talking to, if you don't have mail that's worthy of their attention, you're not doing it right. These should be intertwined and they should be powerful. The goal of the lead gen is to get a contact, and the goal of the contact is to get an appointment. The reality is this is all this is about. I've heard people on the phone spend 10, 15, 20 minutes talking to somebody about a listing, when what you ought to be doing is getting the appointment, not talking about the listing, getting the appointment. Well, how big's the backyard? You know what? That's up to every individual. Maybe if we see it, you'll figure it out if it's right for you. If it's big enough for you, I can be there at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning or 4 p.m., which works better for you. Well, tell me a little bit about the kitchen. It's amazing, and I'll show it to you at 10 a.m. or at 4 o'clock, which works better for you. Well, I just have a few more questions. Let me ask you a question. How many weeks have you spent looking for a home? Oh, about 4 or 5. So your strategy of picking up the phone and asking a few questions to the listing agent, that's not working out so good after over a month, is it? Why don't we meet? And I'll show you a process designed to help you narrow it down and get great focus and end up with the right home in the right location at the right price. I can meet at 10 tomorrow morning before I show you Smith Street, and we can take care of that in 15 minutes. Or is 4 o'clock better for you? This kind of thinking about always understand the minute they say hello or hello this way, thank you for registering, the minute you're communicating, it's the appointment. Keep your focus on the appointment, nothing else. Your business is your database. Look at that bottom reality. The issue is who you mail, what you mail, and when you mail. I would add to that, and this is out of lead gen systematizing from the MREA book. I would add to that follow-up. Who you mail, what you mail, when you mail, and when do you follow up on the mail. Theoretically, any piece of mail you send out, the ideal thing to do would be to follow up with a phone call. And I'm talking about snail mail or email or texting, whatever it is that you do in the way of communication, pushing a message or an offering out. ideally you'd follow up with a phone call to talk to them about the mail. But this is the issue. Who are you mailing? A lot of people are mailing the wrong people, or people that you should exit out. They're not wrong for themselves, but they're not right for you. People aren't adding the right people. Just dumping people in a database is not a good recipe at all. We're going to talk about qualifying leads. And then what you mail, we're going to talk about specific things. There literally are nine real estate arenas that you should be messaging about to a Met database and past clients over time. And your messaging will cover potentially all 9 of these housing arenas or real estate arenas. And then when you mail, right now from March, what you should have done is started mailing at least weekly. And by that, I mean email or texting, not snail mail, emailing or texting your past clients in Sphere about 2 things: about COVID-19 and the impact it's having on the industry, and the fact that houses are selling and being listed every day. And those 2 facts, for the person who's thinking about it but got nervous about COVID, that will calm them down, that they see new listings, pendings, closings, and the fact that you have strategically decided how you're going to protect people, buyers and sellers, from COVID-19, at least to make it safer than going to the grocery store. And since they're all going to the grocery store, they're actually safer with their home listed or out looking at properties with you, because you have a plan that's better than the grocery store. So the 4 laws about databases are these: build it, build it. Right now in our company, so many agents are dealing with converting whatever they're using over into Command, and they're being forced to build it more properly than they've ever had to do it before, because it really doesn't work well if you don't load it and build it properly. But that's true of all CRMs, of all databases. You need to feed it every day. This is a huge issue. People that I've spoken to over years about training, when they see that, feed it every day, they generally think it means add people to it. And that's not true at all. It is about adding more data about the people that are in it. If the people that are in it aren't worth communicating with, get rid of them and get some people in it that are worth communicating with. And the feeding it is about something really simple. Your past clients in Sphere have a native turnover rate, and it's probably your market a point or 2 or higher. So if your market D transfers are 6%, your own Sphere, your own past clients might be at 5, 6, 7%. There might be a bigger swing than that for some of you demographically, but they're about that. So if you've got 500 people in your Met past client database, 30 of them most likely are going to be moving this year. 30. The only way for you to keep track of and know who it is if you keep communicating with them. And you also want to be throwing out bait communications to make them rise their emotion up and react to the message, and then they've self-identified, yeah, we're thinking about buying or selling. Feeding it every day is really where the game is. This term that we use in our company now, and now the industry's adopted it, about nurturing, and I'll give Tim Howell credit for that. Tim developed a strong, as a single agent, developed a strong record of success with calling people and following up. He built a database and worked it mainly around expireds and then FSBOs. But he realized that most of these people are not going to do business now, but they'll do it next month or next quarter or next year. But if you don't follow up with them, they'll get caught or go out to someone else. But if you literally stay in touch, nurturing is nothing more than staying in touch. And this nurturing is about how much closer are you to buying or selling, and if they're Sphere and past clients, or referring me. And this is the issue that a lot of larger, more successful agent businesses focus on. Because if you have a 6% turn in your Met past client database, again, 500 homes, that's 30 a year. But every one of them, every single one of them has the potential to refer you. That means there's 500 referral opportunities along with 30 other sales. So where's the big opportunity? In the referrals or the sales? It's obviously the referrals. So the data you put in there is not just focused on them moving again. It's on when are they going to have a referral for you? And the strategies for that are part of the 36 touch, 40 touch, whatever your concept is on the touch frequency to generate referrals. But I can tell you, it's about staying in touch through mail, through calls, and through seeing them. And we're going to talk about that. Communicate in a systematic way. We already discussed that. You've got to be consistent in your touch programs. There's nothing more important than that, than the consistency. And then service them. Well, no kidding. Mail, call, see, again, is what you need to do. And be clear in your database who is moving towards selling, buying, and referring. So if you've got 500 names in your database, 10% of them, 50 of them, at any given time should be moving towards buying or selling. Remember, that's 30 of them if there's a 6%. And then there's another group that should be moving closer to referring you. There's somebody they know who started talking about maybe moving, and they haven't given your name out or given you the name yet. But if you just happen to prompt them, it'll happen. These are the 9 arenas for you to make messaging that you can follow up with and find business. First-time buyers. I'm not telling you should go after first-time buyers. I am telling you, though, that your sphere will know of first-time buyers and you can get them as a referral. You should message at least twice a year about first-time buyers. Growing family. Unfortunately, these 2 categories, first-time buyer and growing family, and it's nationwide right now, as far as I can tell, everywhere, we have shortages of inventory, severe shortages of inventory for these 2 categories. That is building up demand, and that is making prices go up, 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 multiple offers. And here's the funny thing about that. If you just look at economic theory, anytime you have demand for any product or good building and building and building, the market will find a solution. So in a lot of communities over the last decade or so, you've seen industrial warehouses being converted to lofts. You've seen boxcars turned into housing. You've even seen tiny little houses where the lots are too small to build a standard house, but they're getting them approved in order to build tiny little houses. These are all solutions due to pent-up demand. Move up. This is where you hit beyond the average sales price in most markets, and that is where typically most agents over time are going to focus, because if I can sell more houses at a higher price, also I will bell curve up my income. And then the second move up, which is often for a lot of people, the terminal house, the big house, and then the downsize, and stuck in there is luxury, which in most markets is a small percentage. Wherever your focus is on this, realize it will age over time, meaning it's going to keep changing. The first-time buyer needs a bigger house for the family, and then they've got 2 incomes when the kids go to school, and they want a better home for them, for their family. That's a move up. And then they'll get promotions, and they'll have more money, and then they'll want an even better house, and some will want a luxury house, and all of them end up saying, why are we in this big house when all the kids are gone? And they downsize. In addition to this is second home. I find very few agents are marketing the second home opportunity as something they can provide. I'm in North Florida. We have offices that do quite a bit of second home business. This state is the biggest state for second homes. And looking at the referral fees we're paying out for the Gulf Coast, as well as for the Atlantic Coast, I covered that part of North Florida, we're not seeing nearly enough referral fees. That literally means the database of agents, they don't look at their agent as a resource for buying a vacation home in Florida. So they come to Florida and walk into an office or call off an ad or click on the internet and find an agent down there. This is your duty to help them find a high quality agent who can serve them at a level. But if you don't even talk about it, they're not even going to think about asking you. The residential investment goes without saying. Twice a year, you should be pushing that they need to look at residential investing. And I'd recommend you do that with a seminar. So it'd be a seminar twice a year, and you are pushing and marketing to that for 3 months in advance to drive traffic to it. And then small commercial. Depends on your market area. Some locations, it's just too complicated to get into commercial at all. Other areas, it's pretty straightforward, and you should be marketing that to people who might want to move out of renting an office. You've seen this before. Nothing complicated here. In your database, where you do your lead gen activities, there will be the general public. I wouldn't focus on them. They'll be motivated having mets. That's someone on the internet who's clicked to see all the photos of the house. That's some level of motivation. It is somebody that comes to an open house. It is somebody that comes to a seminar. These are all strangers who said, yeah, I might be doing it. That's who you need to go after. And then, of course, the staggered quality of people that we call METs. And I changed some of the words here out of the red book. It's still core advocates in the middle. Next to them are motivated METs. Core advocates send you multiple deals a year. The motivated METs have sent you business and might send it every couple of years or every year for 2 years and then skip a year. And then there's people that are connected, people that you should be getting referrals from because they're connected. School teachers, people that work in large companies and their department head. These people, you need to be clear in your database. Who are these people that work in large groups of people, very active in groups of people? There are people in your database that might belong to the Audubon Society, the Sierra Club, Rotary International. They're in groups of people all the time, and you're not working them well if you don't know that. And then the connected people, the network med group. Those are the people least likely to give you business, but you're dripping them. And generally, dripping them is all you have the time to do. So when you look at a lead gen 135, I know you're all familiar with a 135. It should look like this. The goal of a 135 for lead gen is not sales, it's appointments. And I think a lot of agents were taught the 135, the GPS for lead generation early on, and they all put sales as the goal. No, lead generation is not about sales at all. Your seller system and your buyer system are what drives sales. The lead gen system gets you the appointment with somebody to sell. That's it. It doesn't drive the sale. So the goal is appointments. This is a 135 for a single agent. It's not complicated. If the single agent wants to sell 36 homes a year, they're going to need 72 appointments according to MREA 1 and 2 research. So they're going to need 72 appointments. They have 3 paths. Now this is not cut in stone here. In other words, this might not be accurate for any one agent. If you're on a team, and you are, you got to think about where your focus is going to be too. It won't be doing everything. It'll be a very few things really well. Sphere, 50% of the business. Web and farm, 50% each, or 25% of the 50%. Those are the 3 priorities. And then the strategies. And this is a simple example. With Sphere, it's a mailer, a piece every 2 weeks, talking about one of those 9 real estate opportunities. It is 4 calls every quarter, following up on the mail. It is 2 visits, and if you have a big enough business, the visits might be client events or seminars. They should feel like they're in a special club, meaning they should be getting preferential treatment from you just because you're in their world. Whether this is invitations, again, to seminars or to charity fundraisers, or it is collateral material. You send them out a vendor list every quarter or every 6 months. All of these things make it feel like knowing you is like being in a club. I get all these benefits. Our people, the back of our business card, there are 9 discounts to local businesses. You go to, and this is not all good for you. You go to Krispy Kreme and buy a dozen, you get a dozen free. You go to 3 restaurants and you either get an appetizer free or dessert free just because you know me. All you do is show my card. And people carry my card around because it has benefits. And then number 5, there's a referral reward program. If you want them to refer you, you dang well better reward that behavior when it shows up. And then the web. No question people should be getting business from the web. No question. And it's going to become even more critical to get clear on where you need to go. So the five strategies here are Facebook, because that's the biggest gorilla, Google, and I would slide YouTube in here now. YouTube and Instagram are kind of interchangeable, but YouTube now literally is 2 billion plus, the same size as Facebook, and it's tied to Google because Google owns them. So if you're working Google and you have a presence on YouTube, you get extra juice. Instagram is not bad, but Instagram, last I looked, was about 900 million, so it's less than half the size of YouTube. And then, of course, LinkedIn. Now, you could do others here. There are other social media platforms you could work, but those you need to work. And then a geographic farm here, a real estate report card, once a month, a quarterly newsletter. You need to show up at the schools where the kids are going to. If the neighborhood is a family-oriented neighborhood, you need to show up at the homeowners association meeting if they have one. If not, if it's a small place, maybe show up at the town council regularly, school board meetings, whatever. And then you need to door knock. If you really want to dominate a farm, you have to literally mentally say, I have to meet every single homeowner in this neighborhood and start a relationship. Every single one. And that is the path to true domination. Again, this is an example of what a powerful lead gen plan for any agent in any position would be. The ratios on lead gens, these are well known. I think you all get these. MREA 1 had a conversion ratio. It was easier to list a property and harder to sell it, harder to list a buyer, but easier to sell them. MREA 2 has come along and said, they're all even. It's 75, 75, 75, and 75. An update was given to me and to several other people in KWU just a couple of weeks ago, and it is slightly better now, listing sellers, but the conversion to sales and the buy side listing and converting to sales are all 70%. So it's a little wiggle. It's dropped down except for the listing of sellers. And that's probably due to the power that most strong seller agents have. And the interesting thing about strangers, geographic farming, open house visitors, etc., it hasn't changed. It's one net sale from 50. One net sale from 50. So if you want to look at the size of your database from Mets and non-Mets, the math is very straightforward. I would encourage you, and I know you all know this, I'd encourage you to recognize we're in untraveled waters here. And I think the most important thing since March to recognize as an agent is your pipeline that you had. You built the pipeline all last year. You worked it. You sold out of it. You kept building to it. January, you were looking forward to the spring when you're going to get some really killer business. And along came March, boom, and things got turbulent in your pipeline. And what people need to understand is your pipeline is disintegrating. Some people are going to move forward despite COVID, despite the economy, despite social unrest. Other people are going, this is too funky. I don't know if I should do this at all. I'm really worried. And then other people said, absolutely not. We are not even going to think about it until this thing is gone over. You need to understand you should be out there giving them information about how you can still keep buying or selling, which you already touched on. But you also need to be realizing some people have lost a job and they're not selling because of COVID. They're selling because they can't afford to keep the house. And if you're not in high touch with your Mets and past clients right now during this period, you're going to miss opportunities. They're on the web. They're seeking help. They're seeking information. And it's up to us to provide it at a very high level. Creativity is really important, but you can't build a strong business that gives great customer service uniformly out of pure creativity. The point of models, and y'all are inside a very powerful model, but the point of models is customer service, uniform customer service, meaning it's always the same thing. And the point of that is scalability. Until you can give uniform customer service through your systems, you can't scale. But once you do, then the issue becomes, now how do we take more market share? Now that we can grow from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 sales, how do we take that market share? And that's creativity. And that is where people will dominate. And when you're doing things that others don't do or won't do, you'll dominate. I remember over the years, Rebecca and I have adopted several things that are creative. like a pre-listing package for a seller, and then a pre-listing package for a buyer, and then delivering it to them at their office within 30 minutes of a phone call, and then getting a moving truck, and then getting another truck, and then getting moving boxes for people. All this stuff, I watch my market over time and go, everybody knows what the devil I'm doing. Nobody's got a moving truck. Nobody's got customized boxes. There are people now dropping off pre-listing packages, but they're doing it at their house. And I'm beating them to the punch because I do it at their office within 30 minutes of the phone call. Creativity in business is how you take market share. So focus on your creativity in your one-on-one presentations. What are you offering people? You've seen the economic ladder before. I'm not going to dwell on anything about this in depth, except for the relationship between appointments with buyers and sellers and closed sales business. And MREA 1 and MREA 2, despite the wiggling on the conversion rates, it's essentially 2 to 1. So your focus is always and forever on double the appointments of the closed sales you want to do. If you want to close 4 deals a month, you need 8 appointments, period. If things get more turbulent, you might need 10 appointments. And the truth is, I don't care how many appointments you need. If you want closed sales, you'll find the right number until you get better conversion rates. The factors that affect conversion rates, and by the way, start thinking about questions you might have, because we're going to stop in time for some Q&A that'll be coming from the chat box. So if you have a question, post it in the chat. This is a big one. Number one, the market conditions are affecting conversion rates, where I just talked about that. The reality is, all over the country, people are still buying and selling. I don't know what it's like where any of you are because you're scattered around, but I've talked to a lot of people, like in Pennsylvania and in Manhattan, over years that I have steady relationships with. And you talk about brutal. They've been unable to sell real estate in Manhattan at all face-to-face with anybody. And yet people are still buying and selling. They're buying and selling houses unseen. If people will do that, then you don't have an issue. Your issue is communicating and having a plan where people feel can be mitigated. And that is a huge issue. In other words, when the market gives you trouble, figure out a path through those troubled waters, ladies and gentlemen, and help the client see that. The presentations, your presentations, both pre-list and at the table, should deal with COVID right up front, should deal with economic challenge. They should also deal with record low interest rates, like you've never seen a better time to be a buyer in terms of interest rates ever, because it's never existed. It's never been this good before. How hard are you telling that message? How many people are you getting to go to Keller Mortgage and get pre-approved? This is a really big opportunity for you to make your presentations up to date, not a presentation that should work just about any time. No, you need one that works right now, that 2 years from now, half that stuff, or at least a quarter of that stuff, will not be in it. The quality of your leads. There's only one way to get more quality leads, and that's get more leads in general. And the internet is the place for that. But it's also true that working groups on the phone or face-to-face is also a powerful one. But the group thing, we can't do that right now, but you will get back to it. Just don't forget that. The most powerful lead gen there is prospecting, and the best prospecting is face-to-face or on the phone. The consistency of your follow-up. Follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. I've worked with a lot of large teams, clients, and they all have internet lead gen plans, whether it's Boomtown, Tiger Leads, Sync, whatever, and they consistently have their agents complaining about leads aren't that good, leads aren't that good. It's just drives you crazy. I've got the same problem. So it just drives you crazy. And what they find out when they dig in, and I really coach them to dig in, they start finding out the leads roll in every day, and their agents are sifting through for the A's, for people who want to like do something now, and then they go take care of them. And then tomorrow there's a new batch of leads, and they're scrubbing through them, and they're pulling out the A's. When the fact is, there's more business in the people they've ignored because they're not ready now than there is in the people that are ready now. And when you think about the touch concept, your follow-up should be based on your market realities, but it should be 8 times, 10 times, 12 times, and then park them and work them through mail, through digital mail and drips. Got to follow up. So here's a famous chart in a lot of our manuals in KW about lead sources. I've added on the bottom, this was always, it had blanks, and people were always, I would get asked, what'd they leave out? I go, well, that's for you to add to it because there's lots of other lead sources. But I finally put in some sources here that are really powerful, that are rarely unused by agents for lead gen. So the rest you're all familiar with, but starting at the bottom on the right, real estate attorneys, business attorneys, probate attorneys, certified financial planners, CPAs, circle prospecting, and up. I think you all you get that, and you're probably doing it. The point here is you pick 1 or 2 that should be your pillars, maybe 3. If you're a larger team business, might be 5. But the pillars, the things that do 3/4 plus or minus of your business, should be a few, well understood, well worked, and they're engaging everybody on the team, admin and agents, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, forever. You're all over that. We answer our phones 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. The bulk of our business is past client repeat and referral, and we are making outbound to them. We do 30, 60, 90, 6 month, 1 year customer care follow-up calls after a close, and every one of those we ask for a referral. And then we're doing that on a quarterly basis, consistently making calls to everybody. It is about the follow-up. So think about any of these you want to talk about. All these work. Some of these agents need to take another look at, because in the era that we're in, where a lot of face-to-face stuff is gone, you're going to turn to marketing. And what marketing could you do that you're not doing? So if open houses used to be a big thing for you, and a lot of teams it is, it's true with mine. Now we went to virtual open houses, but we're also doing virtual seminars, home buying, and real estate investing. These are the touch programs. You're all familiar with this conceptually. Smart plans in Command, but whatever you want to call them, all touch campaigns are built around a regular systematic approach to the touch program. I'm not sure everybody's clear about these though. The way these came about is, what do you really need? And you need, when you meet somebody at an open house, or you meet somebody at church, school, temple, synagogue, whatever, and you swap cards and you say, we'll stay in touch. You need a short-term, high-touch campaign to cement the clarity that this is a new relationship. And that's the 8x8, a touch a week for 8 weeks. If it's expired, it might be a touch a day for 8 days, but it is a high-touch, short-term approach. At the end of that, you either go to a low-touch, long-term approach, 12 direct, or a high-touch, long-term approach, 36 touch. And that's pretty much it. You need a short-term pop, and then you need a long-term slow burn or a long-term high burn. And that's it. The important issue is down here at number 4. They run daily, weekly, monthly in a 30-day wheel. Your lead gen plan. When you look at the leads you need to get the appointments you want, you should be doing every month something systematically. Once a month, put it on the first week of the calendar. Twice a month, the second and the fourth week. Weekly, that would be typically something like an open house. You shift into prospecting. Might be getting inside groups of people, attending meetings, in other words. Rebecca and I did this cranking up in a new market, and we made the top 10 in our board just by working groups instead of individuals, trying to smell out mortgage, smell out money. And you can learn to do that pretty well. Command, this is the reality of Command. This is what Command is helping a lot of us do at a very high level. It's not anything that we weren't doing. It's just helping us doing it at a very high level. This is a relatively new graph, and I like this graph. It shows it. The agents at the top, whether it's a team or single, doesn't matter. You'll use prospecting and marketing. You've got the campaigns that allow you to customize your 36 touch. You've got the smart plans, which is to drive activity with somebody that is, again, ready to do something. And then you have all the other things you can utilize, designs to create powerful pieces that pop, and that's very important. And you end up with contacts who are moving towards buying, selling, or referring, your METs, or you got leads, strangers that seem to be moving towards doing something as well. You cultivate them or nurture them, and then on the bottom, you end up with an appointment, an active client, how many under contract, and how many close. I think that bottom line thing says it all. Everything above that is to get that dang appointment. So when we talk about this huge amount of activity and all these options, it's purely for the appointment. So if you can get the appointment faster, do it. If you're not getting enough appointments, you might have to switch, get a different lead gen plan. But if you're working hard, like a lot of people are, understand the process of change is difficult. So if there's something you're doing for lead gen, it'll probably be several things, 2 or 3 things. And if you're not getting what you need in appointments, there's something you are doing you're going to need to do more of. There's something you're doing you need to stop. Stop. Just stop it. And then there's something you're not doing you need to add. And this is very powerful right now in terms of not COVID-19 per se, but what COVID-19 has created. And what COVID-19 has created by shoving everybody home, and the majority of the workforce is working remotely. Everybody has become more digitally based, not just in their work, but also in their entertainment. The amount of videos being watched is so high that after March, that in the beginning of April, YouTube announced out of the blue, there's so much streaming going on, we can no longer stream high definition. Everything is going to be standard definition. Here's something powerful for us. They also have said the fastest growing segment of video, non-entertainment video on YouTube is how-to videos. How-to videos. If you're an agent and you're not posting videos, you're not clear in your head that all of your database and all of your friends and family members, everybody you know is online more than they've ever been, and they're not going back. A big chunk are going to keep working from home, and a big chunk are going to keep finding their entertainment online, and they're going to get rid of the cable. They're going to cut cable TV, just need the high-speed internet. Things are radically changing and veering towards video. You've got to get engaged with video at a high level. I can't say enough about that. So here's the focus thing. I've been chatting, you've been listening. Hopefully there's something you heard that meant something to you, something that you could do that would change things for you. That would be my hope. The main issue is this is over. Now what are you going to do? Having focus while you're listening and taking notes and circling something going, woo, that's necessary. But what's necessary beyond that is that you don't let go of that thing you circled and you implement. And KWU, the research seems to be clear that if you go to a training and you don't implement in 7 days or less from the training event, you will not implement at all. Now, this is your issue. PlaySync, you guys brought me to do this. I'm talking to, I don't know, hundreds, if not 1,000 people. And I'm talking to you about how you can make more money. And this stuff is not me. This stuff is the accumulated wisdom in Keller Williams training manuals and systems. I just read it a lot and I know what's in them. And I'm just throwing it out to you in a clear, concise manner. If you don't do something with it, why did you even come? So you do need to focus. And that boils down to this. Number one, create a personal plan. And that literally means how are you going to deal with you, yourself, and get around your little idiosyncrasies and your failure to start on time and honor your time block. I do want to say this about a time block in lead gen. We have taught for a long time in KW, lead gen should be 3 hours a day, first thing in the morning. And I get it. Your energy is highest. It's for a lot of people, it's the hard thing. So when you get up, you should attack the hard thing first when you have the most energy and get it out of the way. I get that. There's a problem with that, and it's not a small one, it's a really big one. You cannot afford to only do lead gen in the morning. You must do lead gen in the morning, and you must do lead gen in the evening, early evening, dinner time, 5 to 7, something like that. And the reason is almost everybody's database I've ever stuck my nose in, you have people in there that you'll never get in the morning. You won't get a school teacher. You won't get a judge. You won't get a lawyer. There's all kinds of professions. You won't get them in the morning. And the number one issue is you have to communicate with them face to face or on the phone or through email or through texting, but you got to get in a dialogue with them. And if you can't get them at a certain time, then find a time you can. So we believe people should do, and this depends on you and your pipeline or your database. You should do 2 or 3 mornings and or 2 or 3 evenings. And it depends on your people and it depends on what they do. And since 40% of the American workforce work non-traditional hours, there's a lot of juggling you need to do to have a really effective use of your MET and past client database. So focus on a time block that, in terms of lead gen, is varied from morning to night. Get accountability. I believe y'all are all getting accountability, and that's vitally important because we all drift. Make sure your environment helps. This is helping you, and you all came to the organization to have an environment that helps, and it does, and people need help. Rebecca and I owned a Remax franchise and got out of it to go to KW because that environment appeared to us very clearly. And by the way, this was when Keller Williams had 4,000 agents. That environment appeared to us to be more helpful than the Remax environment. And by golly, it has been. It has been. And then, of course, keep your energy. When times are tough, you got to work harder. You got to work harder, you need more energy. When times are tough, it's also usually more stressful. So when you got to work more and it's more stressful work, your need for energy is bell curving up. And remember that energy comes from diet, exercise, and rest. Pay attention to all 3 of these. If you do, you'll have the energy to not only survive COVID-19 and economic unrest and social distrust of each other. You'll not only do that, you'll thrive in that environment because you have the energy to do it. Okay, so I hope you've been thinking about questions or comments. Throw them out to me, Leslie. Are there any questions?
Yeah, we got a couple of questions. So one from Lori and then a follow-up from Lorraine. Do you still recommend door knocking during COVID? And what would be the best thing to use for door knocking?
Well, door knocking is a big focus, huh? So yes, we are doing door knocking in COVID. The strategy is very simple though. When you need to have something to put down in front of the door, you ring the doorbell, get off the porch, get 10 feet or more away from them. And when they open the door, hi, this is Gene Rivers, Keller Williams Realty, the Rivers team, not trying to scare you or anything. And I've gotten off the porch because I'm very cognizant about COVID-19. I put a flyer down there and it's the current statistics on inventories and trend lines in your neighborhood. And I want you to understand something. If you're even remotely considering selling your home, what you read will show you there's a shortage of inventory this neighborhood has ever seen, and properties are being sold for a premium. And if you're selling, you're probably going to buy, and interest rates are lower than they've ever been in history. This is a fabulous opportunity. So I don't want to come up on the porch. I don't want to come inside. But if you'd like to talk about this, I'd love to have a Zoom meeting with you and your significant other, if there is one. And we can talk about how you can buy and sell in the era of COVID-19 safer than going to the grocery store. And I'm not kidding. If you're going to the grocery store and the drugstore, we can make it safer than that. My name is Gene Rivers. See you later. Bye. That's it.
That's it. Mic drop. Delby had a great question. And you guys, if you do have any additional questions, we do have a few more minutes, so make sure you drop them in the chat box. Delby's question is, what do you recommend be in the presentation today, and what do you recommend we eliminate for today's market?
Now, are you talking about the pre-listing presentation or the at the table presentation? I mean, I'm not sure which, but I'll just go ahead and answer it. In the pre-listing package, I think you need to add information totally about COVID, dealing with COVID. We have collateral material that spells it out. If you're a seller, here's what we do to mitigate risk. If you're a buyer, here's what we do to mitigate risk. when you're moving from one house to another and the moving truck and all that, here's what we recommend you do to mitigate risk. We also have a clear discussion about virtual buying and selling, start to finish, where you'll never go into a house, you won't see a house, but you will buy a house or you will sell your house. So all of that needs to be in it. Your pre-listing package should evolve over time directly related to market realities. There's a great deal of belief that we're getting ready to move into more distressed property. And that more distressed property is going to show up on NOD lists. That's where you're going to see it first. And then you're going to start to see it again, obviously, in notice of intent to foreclose. And when that's happening, when that is bell curving up, we're getting into short sales and foreclosures. And that's going to happen. If that happens, then you'll start putting that into your package. We are talking right now, because of forbearance ending, we're talking right now maybe about adding a page in a pre-list package for a seller about if you did take advantage of forbearance and you're concerned about making payments, please explain that to us so we can tell you what your options are. So over time, what's in the package, again, will be modified based on the situation. What's at the table rarely should change. So what's at the table is not going over what's in the package. Your pre-listing package is designed to educate and overcome objections and close the deal. That's what the pre-listing package is for. If you do it right, there's some forms that they fill out. And when they fill out those forms, they identify what their main concerns are. And when you're sitting down with the seller and you know what their main concerns are, that's all you need to talk about. You don't talk about anything else. More importantly, you tell them what the list of concerns are. I'm not asking you with blanks. It should be a seller concern sheet. And you say, here's the top 10 concerns sellers have, and it's rank them for me, most concerned to least concerned, 5 levels of ranking. And when I sit down, Mr. and Ms. Johnson, I'm so honored to be here tonight. It's a pleasure to come and talk to you about representing you in the sale of your home. Did you get the package? You did. Did you review it? What about you, Mr. Johnson? Did you do it? Did you read it? You did? Good. Did you do the paperwork? You did. Let's sit down and review the paperwork. Do I want to tour the house? Of course I do, but let's do the paperwork first. I mean, if we're not going to do business together, I don't need to tour the house and you don't need to waste your time either. So let's go ahead and go through the paperwork. Do I need to tour it to price it? That's possible, but if that's true, then it'll be the last thing we do, but we'll decide whether we're going to go into business or not. And then we'll go take a look at the house and fine tune the price. Now, when you sit down, you should literally be reviewing the homework that they did and talking only what they have high concern about. And you gave them the 10 list of things. So because I know exactly what is going to be discussed, I have 2 or 3 answers for each one of those 10 objections, and I'm ready to talk about those. I'm really ready to talk about it. I think I answered the question.
Good. Couple more questions. Somebody wanted a clarification that just to make sure, did you say snail mail is out, only email to do prospecting? I believe we are focusing on both of those ways of communication, correct?
Oh, absolutely. No, I did not say no snail mail. But the truth is, snail mail has a power that email doesn't have, and email has a power that snail mail doesn't have. So it's not either or, it's both, but it's much less snail mail and much more email. The issue is with email, I can make an offering. And when I can make an offering, you're sitting there staring at it. All you got to do is move a finger and you click and take the offering. If it's a snail mail, they open it, they see something. Now they got to put everything down because usually they go through their mail when they come home and they've got to find the time to open up their computer and power it on. You have much less click-throughs that way. So you have to have a more compelling piece in the mail, but I think you can have very compelling pieces through email. And again, I think even through texting, I think you can reach a lot of people today through texting and make offerings. And wow, the market's on fire. If you've thought about selling at all, click here to see the trend line in our area right now for people who want to sell. Click, click. Everything is about click-throughs. And remember, the entire population has been forced into becoming more digital. And a lot of them are realizing, I like this cool digital world, and they're not coming back. So our messaging needs to be more focused on the digital universe, not less. I think you use snail mail for appreciation, and I think you use email for education. and getting them to show their motivation.
Perfect. And I think you answered the next question, which was, what are some of, specifically, what are you utilizing as bait to get buyers and sellers to raise their hand? We're really referring to those action items, clicks, right?
Yep. Okay. So that's a great question. And this is way underutilized. The marketing function can be much more powerful on small agent businesses and large teams. I don't see people doing it as well as they could be. Think about an email or even a postcard. It doesn't matter. Everything should be composed the same way. There should be an image that grabs attention. An image. An image could be a chart, graph, picture, but an image. And this is all about real estate. There's no image of pretty sunsets. Thinking of you. No, that's not it. You do an image that grabs attention. I'll give you an example of the way this works. So on the back of a postcard or at the top of an email letter, here's a picture of a little kid, a baby sitting on the floor in a diaper, looking up at the camera. And there's an image that grabs attention. And then there's a statement. If you have children under the age of 5, in fact, if you have 2 or more children under the age of 5, you could have 2 or more children in college at the same time. Unpaid college debt is at an all-time epidemic high. If you would like to buy your kid's college for 20 cents on the dollar, take advantage and sign up for the Millionaire Real Estate Investor Workshop and learn how you can buy your kid's college today at 20 cents on the dollar. Now, that's a statement that had an offering, and then right below it would be the call to action. Click here to sign up for the workshop on Saturday, 10 to noon. And everything you do is just like that. You can have a couple crying, holding the keys to their new home. So you see this couple crying with the keys in front of their house. And then the statement is, first-time buyers are the largest piece of the home buying public. If you know anyone who's getting married or graduated and going to work in a new city who might be buying their first home, give them a copy of Your First Home, the New York Times best-selling book ever about buying your first home. Click here to reserve your copy, and they can receive an engraved edition because you'll sign it before they receive it.
Awesome. Jean, to wrap it up today and keep our people focused, we know the difference between successful and unsuccessful people is the speed at which they implement. What is the one action item, the one big thing that they should take out of this today and focus on implementing immediately?
If you haven't done it, I'd clean up your pipeline. You better talk to everybody in your pipeline. I don't care if they're 6 months out, and find out, has your timeline shifted or things different? If people lost jobs, their timeline is not the same. If you've cleaned up your pipeline, then I'd be going after videos. I'd create videos and get on Instagram or YouTube and start driving how-to videos. How to price your home, how to find a realtor, how-tos.
Awesome. Well, that is going to wrap up our powerful hour with amazing Jean Rivers. Thank you so much for pouring into our people today. Thank you everyone who joined us. We will be sending up a wrap-up email with some additional information in these slides that we went over today. A huge thank you to everyone. Go and have a powerful day.